Hi everyone, and welcome to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review. I'm Stephanie, and I've been collecting and selling vintage fashion magazines for over 20 years.
And I'm Morley. I'm a former copywriter and am now an award-winning playwright and screenwriter.
Together, we will examine some of your favorite vintage fashion magazines from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
On Uncovered, we'll discuss some of the magazine's models, layouts, and did I mention the models?
And we'll also review some of the ads and articles that make these magazines such a great piece of pop culture history. So, fasten your seatbelts and let's get uncovered. Hi, and welcome to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review. Today on the podcast, we will be reviewing Elle Magazine, November of 1985.
So, Steph, I have a question for you. Who is that on the cover of Elle Magazine?
That is Elle Mcpherson.
Okay, so what you're basically saying then is that if the cover was Cindy, then the magazine would be called Cindy instead of Elle? Is that how it works? Or maybe... No? Okay. All right. So, Steph, November of 1985, do you remember anything about that year and month? Anything?
November 1985, I would have been a teenager in high school. What can I tell you? I could tell you that this is when I started to become more interested in adult fashion magazines as opposed to when I was younger and I would have, been
into
reading
like 17,
and
Young
Miss,
yeah.
that sort of thing. And now I was looking at Elle, Vogue, Bazaar,
Okay, well, so who would you say Elle is really geared towards, in your opinion?
Elle is geared, I would say, towards 20s, 30s, and even 40s.
Okay.
Women.
Yeah.
For the most part.
And that's different than, let's say, from Cosmo?
Cosmo, I would say it's more for the... Personally, I would say it's more for the younger women. 20s, 30s are talking a lot about meeting men and sex and being single and how to attract a man and da-da-da-da-da. So...
And then Vogue is more for an older, more mature audience?
I would say anywhere between 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. But folks, this is all my opinion.
Right.
And also, these days with the celebrities that I have on the covers of Vogue, it could even appeal younger. So, who knows?
Right. So, for me, for November 1985, I would have been starting my second year of university. And I was actually I double majored in mass communications and political science.
Yeah, so you're an underachiever.
Basically,
clearly.
No, it was just, I didn't mention I got an honors BA. Completely useless. But nonetheless, that was my second year, and I made some friends who I'm still friends with today. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes, you are.
I'm not sure they are. Let's talk about what was going on in the world of entertainment, November of 1985. So some of the top songs at the time was Separate Lives. Do you remember that song?
Oh, definitely.
By Phil Collins and Marilyn Martin.
Yeah.
There is a song called Perfect Way by Scritti Politti.
That was a great song.
And Broken Wings by Mr. Mister. Take these
That
broken
was really
wings.
a great year for music, wasn't it?
Well, one of my favorites was Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy.
Oh, great song.
I think it was co-written by Rick James. As a point of trivia, I know some of you there love trivia. The first song I ever heard Eddie Murphy sing was just, I think, the year before. And it was called Boogie in Your Butt by Eddie Murphy.
I had never heard that song before you played it for me.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yep, it goes like,
Boogie in your butt.
In your butt, put the boogie in your butt, put the boogie. And it was a novelty song.
Bizarre.
I used to hear it all the time on Dr. Demento, but I liked it. Some of the top films of November of 1985 was Rocky V.
Oh, yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
Now, was that with Freddy Krueger? Was that where he's from?
That is Freddy Krueger, yes.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
the knives hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Edward Scissorhands, basically, right?
Maybe I'm confusing him with Edward
I think you're right.
Scissorhands. Am I right?
No, I think you're right. I think
It's been a while, guys. Sorry.
And also, a very interesting film was called Once Bitten. Have you heard of that film?
Sure.
Okay, so basically, no. And it starred Jim Carrey. And I think that was his film debut. But what was interesting about it, now I was a big Jim Carrey fan, even in 1985. He used to appear at Yuck Yucks, which is the comedy club I used to perform at an amateur night a lot. So he had made it big. So I used to follow his career. That was his first movie. But what was interesting about that movie, not just because it was his film debut, it also starred Lauren Hutton.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So lousy film, but it was really well done. In some ways, he really made the film.
It would be interesting to see Lauren doing comedy.
Yeah, she played, I believe, this 400-year-old vampire or vampiress. And I think the plot of the movie was Jim Carrey was trying to lose his virginity and blah, blah.
And so did you ever see Jim Carrey perform at Yuck Yucks? This is a comedy club in Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah, it's a very popular comedy
Canadian.
club. I used to appear there numerous times. I was asked to turn professional, but I said no. But yeah, so Jim Carrey used to perform there.
Did you see him perform?
I never saw him perform there, but Jim Carrey used to perform there. Howie Mandel got his start performing at Yuck Yucks.
Sure.
And one of his bits was he would take like a surgical glove and blow it up like a balloon. Mm-hmm. Really bizarre. Chaz Lawther, if anyone of you are familiar with him. A lot of great comedians are from Toronto, and they got their start at Yuck Yucks. So Mark Breslin and I are friends on social media. Mark, if you're listening, thank you again so much for giving myself and other comedians the opportunity to perform at your amazing club. So,
and Jim Carrey from Scarborough, Ontario.
That's right, Jim Carrey, amazing. All right, so why don't we continue on with Elle, November 1985.
So I'm really personally excited to present this issue because it's the first Elle magazine that we have reviewed on the podcast. So Elle Magazine is a French fashion magazine. They were founded in 1945. Of course, Elle means she or her in French. The U.S. edition, which this is, launched in 1985. So this is, I guess this is the year that they launched.
Oh, wow.
Here in Canada, we have Elle Canada as well as Elle Quebec. Interesting.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And according to Wikipedia, Elle it happens to be the world's largest fashion magazine with 45 international editions in over 60 countries and over 69 million readers. So that's huge.
I take it they're still around.
They are still around. In fact, I like to read both the Canadian Elle and the American Elle.
I was going to say you like to read both the Canadian and the French one.
Yeah, so. Well, that too. And in my store, there is a lot of interest in the Canadian Elle magazines because, right. They have a different cover and they're a little bit different content than the American Elle. So that's Elle Magazine.
Well, we find that, sorry to interrupt you, but we find that a lot with different magazines that are published in Canada and the U.S. I remember Sandy was telling us that there was a little article about her in one of the magazines.
There was an article that included Sandy. So we went to the drugstore. I wanted it.
Yeah, was this Allure magazine?
It was Allure, and we went to look for it. And I'm flipping through the pages at the drugstore, and I'm like, I don't see it because... And
I went through it at least once or twice myself. We wanted to get the magazine to read about Sandy. And we realized, you know what? This is the Canadian edition.
And clearly, it wasn't there. So I'm going to have to go to eBay and get that.
Yeah, for sure. So sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
Yeah, no, that's great. So here we have Elle Magazine, November 1985. The cover is Elle Mcpherson. Photography...
Is it Mcpherson or McPherson?
I believe it's McPherson.
Okay.
The photographer is Jill Ben Simon. Hair by...
I think it's... is it Jill Ben Simon, maybe? I think it's probably Ben Simon.
Ben Simon.
Okay, Ben Simon. Okay, well, in Canada, it's Ben Simon.
So, okay, that's fine. Okay. But on America's Next Top Model, which he has
he's
appeared
wrong.
on...
Okay, he's wrong.
He's called Ben Simon.
He doesn't know how to pronounce his own name.
Okay. Moving along. Hair by Madeline. Could be Madeline.
Could be.
Morley.
Or Madeline. Go on.
Makeup Mark Schaefer. And the fashion that she's wearing an orange dyed mink sweater by Claude Montana.
And that's Montana.
Yes.
I know. Kidding.
Although I believe he's French, so it could be
Claude.
Montana.
Montana or Claude.
Anyhow.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's
go on.
Let's move forward with the headlines.
Yes.
The headlines are French women sexier? Hot shot knits, warm sensuality, and that's SCENT, shuality.
Oh, they're so clever.
So we're talking about, we're talking about perfume here.
Okay.
And Duran Duran Simon Le Bon. Okay?
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about our cover model before we move on.
Okay.
Elle Mcpherson. So she's a model and actress. Most of you listening to the podcast would know. She was born Eleanor Nancy Gow in New South Wales. She said that she started modeling to pay for her school books. And she happens to hold the record...
Me too. Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah, I know. Small world.
Yeah.
And she holds the record for Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue covers. She has 5. that she has appeared on.
Wow.
She's also appeared in all of the major fashion magazines, but especially Elle. She reportedly appeared in every issue for 6 straight years. That's a big chunk of her life, and she's a young lady.
Yeah, no kidding.
In 1989, she was nicknamed Elle the Body Mcpherson by Time magazine when she appeared on their cover.
I wonder if she's related to Jesse the Body Ventura, the wrestler. No?
Oh, probably.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
be.
probably.
Yeah. Something in common, maybe related.
For sure.
Yeah.
This is something that I learned, I did not know. She actually dated Billy Joel in the 1980s before Christy Brinkley. And apparently the song...
She dated Billy Joel before she dated Christy Brinkley? Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong.
That's a different podcast.
Okay, this is where commas are helpful.
That's a different podcast.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Apparently the song And So It Goes by Billy Joel was written about her.
Okay.
Is
Is that one of his deep cuts? Because I don't recall seeing that song on his greatest hits album. Do you know the song?
I know the song.
Okay.
So Elle married French photographer Gilles Ben-Simon, the photographer who took this cover photo, in May 1986. So 6 months after this photo was taken, they got married. Unfortunately, they divorced in 1989. And she happens to have 2 grown sons with former partner Arpad Bousson.
Okay.
So that's Elle Mcpherson. Now, I just wanted to go on and talk a little bit about this headline called Warm Sensuality, SCENT.
Yep.
And ask you, Morley, are there any scents that remind you of the 80s, this time period?
Yeah, there's, I think, a few scents. One of them is Brute.
Yes.
I think my father used to wear that. And I remember when I used to go to Yuck Yucks, I would splash some on. I probably bathed in it because I didn't know how much to put on. But Brute, I'm assuming Brute is still made. I don't know.
I think so.
So that was definitely a nice scent at the time. I think Drakkar Noir, because I used to wear a lot of Drakkar, which I know you hate when I wear. So Drakkar Noir was a popular... My brother used to basically shower in the stuff. So he'd leave the house for work, and it'd be like a vapor trail of Drakkar leaving the house. And also tennis balls. And the reason tennis balls is because when you open up a fresh can of tennis balls... First of all, it's like opening up a can of Pringles at the time when you had the pop top.
I prefer the Pringles probably, but
yeah, that's you probably.
I'll take the Pringles, guys.
But you'd open up the can of tennis balls. You hear the click of the metal.
Sure, and then that whoosh.
Yeah, the whoosh.
Yes.
But the smell of the tennis balls, and for me, the smell of fresh tennis balls for me represented either tennis or road hockey, and either one, it's like. That smells like victory to me. So I love the smell of fresh tennis balls. So, how about you?
So going back to Drakkar, and the reason I don't like when you wear Drakkar, which you don't wear Drakkar, is because it brings you back to the 80s.
Forbidden
and it's
to wear Drakkar, ladies and gentlemen.
It's
forbidden.
such a dated scent that you smell it and you think like you're in high school or something. It's too dated, in my opinion.
It's a classic scent because
no
it's still,
offense to anybody who wears
It's still being
Drakkar.
produced, sort of like Charlie and Chanel No. 5. It's a classic scent.
So you know how some scents bring you back in a good way, like when I think of my grandmother's baking, walking into the house and smelling baking, or
so
something
I should
like
get
that
like a
brings you back.
cologne that's made from your grandmother's baking. Got it. Okay, go ahead.
So some of the scents that I'm looking at here, and this is in the magazine, page 120, are Giorgio Beverly Hills, which again you wouldn't wear that today because I don't even know if it's available. It was a store. Giorgio Beverly Hills was a store in Beverly Hills, and they became known for this scent like all over the world. Well, definitely in Canada.
Okay.
And you couldn't walk through a high school hall without smelling Giorgio. And I don't know if it's available anymore or not, but that's not something that I would want to wear.
High school students
if it were.
wear perfume and cologne?
Oh, yeah. You could. Obsession. You could not walk through high school hall without smelling Obsession. It hit you in the face.
That was Elizabeth Taylor?
That's Calvin Klein.
Okay.
And another one, even Eternity. There were a few of them. They were all over. And, it's not something I would want to experience today.
What was that perfume that was supposed to be males or females could wear it? It was like everyone wore it at one point. It was sort of like a neutral.
I don't know at all.
Okay. Anyway.
I personally, in 1985, I can tell you that I liked Ruffles. That was Oscar de la Renta.
I love Ruffles. My favorite are salt and vinegar Ruffles. There's also the plain Ruffles, and with dip is fantastic.
I think that's a
good choice.
Different podcast.
Okay, sorry.
Anyhow, so that's the cover of Elle Magazine, November 1985.
Great. Well, it sounds like a very interesting magazine. So, as you know, this is the first time that I've reviewed Elle Magazine. I've never seen it before. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it, but never actually went into it. And one of the first things I noticed as I'm going through the pages is the contributing editors. And one of them is Shakira Caine, who I believe you're going to be talking about.
Really?
She was a contributing editor. And of course, for those of you who are not familiar, Shakira Caine was married to Michael Caine, the actor.
Great catch, Morley.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe there was a law at one point that Michael Caine had to be in every single movie released. But I think he's retired now. So, but he rose to fame in the 60s in a movie called Alfie, which is a really, really popular movie at the time. But I want to draw everyone's attention on page 30. There's an article on Janet Jones. So are you familiar at all with Janet Jones, Steph?
Sure. Yeah.
So she actually started out, I believe, in Broadway. She was cast in a chorus line. And so she was a dancer, an actress. And the following year, she appeared in a movie called American Anthem. I don't know if you've seen that movie. I never saw. But what was notable about it is that it starred U.S. gold medal winning gymnast Mitch Gaylord. So he was the first, I think, American gymnast to score 10s in his categories. I'm not sure. But of course, for those of you who maybe the name Janet Jones rings a bell, she ended up marrying Wayne Gretzky.
Canadian so now, is she Canadian too?
She is not Canadian. She's from Los Angeles. But if you recall, because I know you're a huge hockey fan, when Wayne Gretzky was traded to the Los Angeles Kings from the Edmonton Oilers in 1988, that's where they met. They started dating. And so that is Janet Jones Gretzky.
So I actually, I was in his restaurant one time, and he was there, she was there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I actually got his autograph.
That's kind of
at the time, but I lost it.
Was this here in Canada or was this in the U.S.?
It was in Canada. It was downtown Toronto. He had a restaurant called
Gretzky's,
and I was there. And
I wonder how he came up with that name. It's like it just must have come to him in a dream or something. But go on. Yeah. So he was there, and Janet was there too.
She was there too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you never hear anything bad about her. You never hear really anything bad about Wayne. It's just great. So that's kind of neat. You met him. Now, I met one of my idols once, Daryl Sittler, and I'm hoping one day to meet Tony Esposito, former Chicago Blackhawks goalie. So why don't we continue on with Elle Magazine?
So page 56 brings us to an article, as Morley just said, entitled "Gypsies in Big Houses" by Shakira Caine. And the caption goes, "Do you dream of dining in London on Friday, sunning in Rio on Saturday, and rubbing elbows with the Hamptons glitterati on Sunday? Shakira doesn't dream about it, she does it." So she's an ex-model and actress. We know that she's the wife of actor Michael Caine. Yeah. They've been married since 1973. Apparently, they first met after he saw her in a commercial for Maxwell House Coffee. Interesting. Wow. And he sought out to meet her. She lived nearby. And she's included some travel and packing tips.
Oh.
And I'm going to go ahead and read you some because I personally thought some of them were brilliant. And here's one. Never travel with more than 2 suitcases, and use inexpensive suitcases covered with children's stickers in the hope that they won't be stolen.
Is that not brilliant or what?
I thought it was incredibly brilliant.
Yeah, it's so smart.
So your luggage is going around the carousel, and it's like, I don't know, covered in SpongeBob SquarePants stickers or something like that. Yeah, and
Marvel superheroes.
Who's going to take that seriously?
Exactly.
So, great advice. She goes on to say, in case they are stolen, carry a large sport sack bag, little ad for sports sack there, with telephone and address book, cassette player, tapes, headphones, headphones, makeup bag, and petroleum jelly.
Petroleum jelly?
Petroleum jelly.
Kind of
I don't know what she's using that for.
Okay.
Anyhow.
Well, the hips don't lie.
Never know. So I had to read this line twice, actually. Telephone and address book. And I'm thinking she's talking about her telephone. And in fact, she means she's bringing a telephone book with her.
Remember the old days when, I remember the old days when you had Rolodexes. Now, for the office, I technically still have a Rolodex at the office with business cards. But, they used to sell these little telephone books, like really, really small, like 6x4, whatever they were.
Do you remember the white pages and the yellow pages?
Yeah, exactly.
Totally obsolete.
Well, after my dog got through with the phone book, it was yellow pages.
Honestly.
So go on.
So she always travels with 2 sizes of clothing, medium and large. And I'm just thinking that must be a really nice long trip if you're going to change clothing sizes.
Wow.
In between, right?
My goodness, that's sort of like what I would do at Thanksgiving. need to, start off with the medium, and by the time the dinner was over, I'd be extra large.
Yeah, you need to bring a separate
Yeah.
outfit to leave.
Yeah, or stretchy pants. Go on.
And to finish off this article, she attended a party in Sag Harbor at the Hamptons, and she dished gossip on different celebrities. So, interesting read.
Yeah.
So, yeah, must read, guys.
So one of the favorite parts of any magazine would be the horoscopes. Now, I'm not particularly into horoscopes, but I find them amusing. So at the back of the magazine, there's the horoscope pages, or horoscope page. It says, November, a month for introspection, healing, and success. So my birthday's in September, so I'm going to read my horoscope to you. You have truly suffered under the influence of the planet Uranus, unfortunately. And that's what I say. I've always said it's bloody Uranus that's caused me all my ills in life. Exactly, they got me. Unfortunately, there is no relief this month as Saturn moves into Sagittarius. I'm really disappointed. Saturn, you used to be one of my favorite planets, but you're cut off. That's it, Saturn. The hell with you. Now, you may become depressed when suddenly all your weaknesses are exposed and the chilling effects of Saturn will affect you the hardest. All of my weaknesses are exposed every time we do this podcast, folks, so this is not a big surprise. But don't despair. Oh, there's some good news. This is an excellent time to to get glasses. This is an excellent time to reorganize your energies and dispense with anyone or anything that is a threat to your stability. So if I would have been reading this back then, that probably would have been my university professors or maybe some of my friends at the time. No, I'm just kidding. But I find the horoscopes interesting. Now, as a little point of interest, Stephanie and I have been together since 2014. And one of the things that used to drive me crazy was when we got married and started living together. Every morning she'd wake up, and the first thing she would do is she'd read her love horoscope. Not just a horoscope, but her love horoscope. And I'd say, we're married, right?
I just wanted to know what you were going to do that day.
Yeah, so it's like really... So fortunately, she doesn't read her love horoscope anymore, or I'd predict her future. But I always got a kick out of that.
Page 78 brings us to a layout entitled Far Flung. This is a 10-page layout. The caption goes, on the next 10 pages, the season at wit's end. New to the scene colors, textures, and tendencies that are more than ready to wear. The models include Renee Simonson, Elle Mcpherson, Yasmin Laban, photography by Gilbert Simon, hair by Raymond Camacho, and makeup by Glenn Marziali. So this layout starts off with a 2-page spread, and it's outerwear by Kenzo, and it's very colorful. And it's always very nice to see, bright colors in winter wear, because winter's very dull and gray.
This is beyond bright colors. I mean, if you look at the way the model is opening the coat, they look like a peacock. And I can guarantee
it's true.
That's exactly the effect they're going for with the red, the blue, the green. It's stunning.
It's a great observation.
Yeah, it's definitely a peacock for sure they're trying to get.
It's gorgeous. It spans 2 pages. It's by Kenzo.
Is Kenzo still around?
He just recently passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But his fashions live on. Okay.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, definitely very memorable fashions.
On the next page, we have Renee Simonson wearing furs, jumping around. It's 3 photos of her. She looks gorgeous as usual. And she's wearing stirrup pants. And some of you ladies out there, maybe some gentlemen too, remember stirrup pants from the 1980s.
Well, what I notice about her is she's wearing these, I think they're called moon boots.
I think they are. And then here she's wearing some gold Converse.
But what I remember, though, about the moon boots, if you want to call it, is that Robin Williams used to wear similar ones on Mork and Mindy.
Oh,
so
yes.
Yeah, so they're kind of very popular.
That's
so
right.
What exactly are stirrup pants? When I think of stirrups, I think of horses.
So stirrup pants, at the bottom they have the strap.
Right, that's what it is.
Like horseback riding pants.
So what is the purpose of that exactly?
I think they're to hold your pants in place so you can wear boots and your pants don't bunch up.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
So it's a smooth line.
Okay.
Which I personally was never a fan of stirrup pants. I don't find them that comfortable. I don't think you need your pants to be attached to your foot, personally.
Wouldn't they be uncomfortable as well on the bottom of your foot when you're walking in shoes? Because now you have something on your arch or whatever, and...
Yeah, I seem to recall that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I noticed, sorry Stephanie, I noticed as well on the right-hand side, Can you read the headline on that side of the page?
Coming on fast, furs that keep pace with the new strong overlean shapes, fast times.
So again, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I believe, came out in 1983, 84, something like that. So I think maybe Fast Times, it's a headline there, maybe to catch your attention, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they're probably doing that.
Very possible. And again, we have Converse. Converse you do see from time to time in fashion magazines. They've really never gone out of style.
No, yeah, the Chuck Taylors, right? Chuck Taylor Converse,
yeah.
and so popular. And they're always in style, like you said.
I have gold Converse, but not like this. They're a different type. Not
Right.
the Chuck Taylors, but
Yeah.
So, anyhow, next page, we have again Elle Mcpherson. Gorgeous. Hair piled high.
Yeah.
Thigh-high suede boots. And she's wearing 2 different color boots,
I noticed that.
actually.
Any particular reason why you think? Is it to show off the boots themselves?
I wonder if maybe, the stylists have been given the outfits
Right.
that they have to style, and maybe the stylist was, my guess, perhaps the stylist was given 2 different color pair of the same boots,
Right.
and wanted to use them both and they only used one photo. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
You know
that way you
what?
can get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, maybe someone can enlighten us. We have some listeners from the fashion industry, and perhaps they can enlighten us. But I would guess either the boots came that way, or they had to use the same boots in 2 different colors and chose to showcase them in one photo on Elle.
But if that's the case, then you see the earrings she's wearing, the hoop earrings.
Yeah.
Then maybe what she could have been doing then is on one side wearing that, another side wearing a different type of jewelry. So that way, again, maximize the different products in one photo.
Yeah, but you could do that. I mean, the stylists are very gifted, and
Yeah.
they can make it work. So, following page is Yasmin Laban, and she is wearing menswear. She's wearing a camel coat, which is a classic. It's a staple. A silk robe, but this is definitely menswear inspired.
Right.
Smoking jacket. She's even wearing a cummerbund here. Yeah. And this looks like one of the robes that, like, similar to Hugh Hefner, what he would wear.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, you're right.
Definitely menswear inspired, and then
Okay.
in silks.
And what I like, look at the last picture. It looks like she's wearing a cape that the bullfighters would wear, except it's not in red.
That's true. And even the pose, even the way she's sort of holding it up.
Yeah, she's holding it like Toro.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And I also want to mention, I've never seen a magazine of this vintage that is in such amazing condition.
Oh, it's
like,
beautiful.
It's like it just came off the newsstand. I can't get over it.
It is. It's beautiful.
Wow. Yeah.
And the last page, I don't quite recognize this model. I think it may be Elle Mcpherson. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But anyhow, she's wearing Hermes. So she's got an arm stacked with bracelets.
And now are those called bangle
Bracelets, thank you.
Okay.
And and she's just sort of, there's a shoe here.
There's on one page, on the left-hand page, there's a shoe sticking out of nowhere, a patterned shoe. It's a very nice shoe. And on the right-hand side, you see that she's looking straight ahead at the photographer. She's wearing all red except an armful of bangles. I don't know how she could move. And a very interesting look on her face. Maybe a little cross-eyed even, but a very interesting look on her face.
Yeah. So that's the end of this particular layout.
Well, that covers Elle Magazine, or She Magazine, or Her Magazine, I guess, from November 1985.
Oui.
Exactly, exactement. It's also great timing because we're going to be heading to La Belle Province, Quebec, very soon.
We are.
So maybe we'll look for Elle Montreal or Elle Quebec.
Elle Quebec,
yes.
Definitely.
And then we could review a magazine we know nothing about, that we can't understand. So we want to thank our listeners again for listening. If you want to reach us, again, our email is uncoveredpodcast@yahoo.com. We're also on Twitter, which is @uncoveredvfmr.
You can also find us on Instagram, uncovered_VFMR. Please be sure to follow.
And Stephanie, if people want to find great magazines like this and maybe some amazing ads, where can they find them?
You can check me out on Instagram. My handle is GreatMags, GR8 MAGZ.
Now, what's the last letter in French? What is the Z? Do you recall?
Z.
Is it in French?
Yes.
Oh, you're bilingual. I didn't know that.
I am bilingual.
Okay, very good.
And you can also find great vintage magazines in my stores. The name is also Great Mags. I'm on Etsy. I'm on eBay. So thank you for listening to the podcast today. Please remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you could leave us a 5-star review, it would be
really
very much
appreciate it.
appreciated.
Thank
We
you
love all of your comments. So thank you so much.
We do. We really appreciate our listeners.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review Podcast.
Uncovered was produced by Morley Schulman, with music by David Renda and logo design by Alan Lipman.
So remember, if you liked Uncovered, be sure to tell 2 friends about it.
And they'll tell 2 friends.
And so on, and so on, and so on.